Okay. So, we're going to be talking about Master Detective Archives Rain Code, Teenage Kraken, or as I sometimes like to call it, Non-Ganronpa, because it's not quite Danganronpa, although it is very, very close. It has the same creative team, it has a very similar aesthetic, right down to the pink blood. When you look at it as a Danganronpa game, I've noticed a lot of the chapter by chapter trope. So right now, I'll just go and throw out the spoiler warning. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Spoilers are now live. So, like a Danganronpa game, the first chapter has a victim, or in this case, victims, plural, be characters you thought were going to be important. The next chapter, although this is where it gets a little weird, like just when I talk through it, because it numbers its chapters differently. You have a chapter 0 where there's a murder, and then a prologue where like it's only just some story stuff, and then chapters 1 through 4 are regular murder investigations, and then chapter 5 is, okay, now here's all the big mysteries. Compared to a Danganronpa game, which is, here's the prologue where there's no murder, 1 through 5, and then chapter 6 where everything comes together. So there might be times where I confuse myself a little bit, but chapter 1, which would be the equivalent to a Danganronpa chapter 2, has a big misdirection in your trials. Chapter 2, which is technically a chapter 3 of a Danganronpa game, is the one that feels the least like a Danganronpa chapter. In a sense, you have multiple people dying, but it's not that you have multiple victims here, it's because you have multiple culprits. It's chapter 3, which is a Danganronpa chapter 4, introduces like a big Unga Bunga character just to kill them off. Chapter 5 is now you are losing a major antagonist, but your culprit is a major ally. And then your chapter 5, here's all the mysteries being revealed. And after spending maybe 2.5 weeks or so playing this game, and I've solved multiple murders, I've uncovered Kanai Ward's ultimate secret, one mystery remains. Did I like this game? Because even thinking about it, like having slept on it, I'm not sure that I did. And for me, it starts at the top. It starts with Yuma and Shinigami. Imagine you're watching a film, and as you're watching this movie, you've got someone beside you that every couple minutes just has something to say. And it's not, like, every now and then they'll say something that's legitimately kind of funny, or they'll have an observation where you're like, huh, that's actually kind of interesting. The other 95% of the time, they're just saying stuff to fill the dead air, but the air's not even dead. They just kind of like hearing the sound of their own voice. And it's kind of annoying. And then on your other side, you have someone who every time that person makes a comment just has to give a very like exasperated eye roll, or like a really, come on, be serious here, which also never really stops. And that's how Shinigami and Yuma felt to me. She always had something to say, always had to make her opinion known on whatever was going on. I very rarely found it funny. I'll say as the game went on, probably like the first half I found her insufferable. And then the second half in the game, she was better, but I still didn't particularly like her. And a lot of Yuma's dialogue was just reacting to what Shinigami said, and not in a way that I found particularly funny either. It was just like, oh man, this is what I have to deal with. I'm like, yeah, I know, I have to deal with it too. You're not really helping the case here. And it's hard for me to articulate how I feel about Yuma, because I don't like him, but I don't hate him either. I think the best way of saying it is, I found him pretty boring for most of the game. And when I got to the end, and I got to him and Makoto, and they have their meeting of the minds, I'm like, okay, I understand Yuma a lot, or like I understand why they wrote Yuma the way they did and how he is meant to be this foil to Makoto, which I'll talk about a little bit later. And I think it does work enough by the end. But as the game was going on, I didn't find him that interesting, and I didn't find him that endearing. Although I will say, there were moments, and it would generally be like really early in a chapter, like right when you find the body, where he'll give this very over-the-top, like purple prose narration, and I ate that up. I absolutely loved that. Like, okay, this feels like a detective noir kind of situation, and like they're having some fun with it. I'm enjoying this, and when Yuma gets to do that, I have fun with him, but when he's just sort of reacting to other people, I don't really get into it. When it comes to our other characters, our other detectives, I freaking love Halara Nightmare. They, unironically, like, this character just steals the show anytime they're on screen. I thought their chapter was great. The interactions with them are great. And anytime they subsequently show, I'm like, yeah, that's Halara freaking Nightmare. Like, the names are stupid. They feel like Gundam names. Like, our main character is named Yuma Koko. I'm like, no, he's not. He is not. His last name is not Coco Head. What are we doing here? Like, this is giving full frontal run for his money for talking about Gundam names. But I liked Halara a lot. And then we've got Desuhiko Thunderbolt, who Desuhiko has his problematic moments, and I'm not gonna pretend that they don't exist. But he's also a total bro. Like, this is a guy who's like, look, man, like, I'm kind of a coward. Like, I don't like being around dead bodies. I don't really like being around conflict. And when... oh, I don't remember the name of Yomi's right hand, but when you're dealing with her in Chapter 2... and Desuhiko knows, like, oh, okay, like, we're at gunpoint, they're not playing around, he just immediately, like, tackles her, tries to hold on to her, and is like, Yuma, go! Like, I will distract them as long as I can so you can get out of here. Like, he's... for all of Desuhiko's moments, he is genuinely a total bro, and he really grew on me. Fubuki, I wanted to love. I really wanted to like Fubuki. And I don't hate her. I don't know if I dislike her. I remember showing Clay a song parody that I'm fond of. It is a parody of the song Let the Bodies Hit the Floor. That might not even be the full title of the song. It might even just be like Let the Bodies or something. But it's a parody of that. But instead of Let the bodies hit the floor, it's I can only count to 4. I can only count to 4. If you've heard it, it's great. It's so funny. I bring that up because I showed that to Clay while I was playing Danganronpa. Because Fubuki can't even count that high. There are scenes where she's like, what's the number that comes after 3 again? I'm like, no. No. Girl, what? I'm supposed to believe you're a master detective, and granted, part of that of being a master, I had a twang there for a second, part of being a master detective is you've got some kind of superpower, and it's like, sure, I can believe her having a power is helpful, and she can rewind time a little bit, sure, I can see how that could be helpful, but girl can't count to 4 on a good day. Like, she reminded me a lot of Sonya from Danganronpa 2, and it's been a while. But from what I remember, Sonya was like a fish out of water. It's like, I don't really know how to Japanese, because I'm from, I don't remember the name of her country. But I am I am a functional human being. We just have some differences. Fubuki is not a functioning human being to a degree that I couldn't take seriously, to a point where this wasn't funny. I was just confused and kind of annoyed. Like, she's a sweetheart. I want to like her, but... oh boy. And then we have Vivia Twilight, who didn't do much for most of the game, but I kind of liked him. And then we got to his chapter, and I'm like, okay, You're about as cool as Halara Nightmares. I really, really liked Vivia. And then we have Chief Yako. Oh boy, speaking of characters I really wanted to like. Yako's introduction is after the first chapter, and Yuma's been framed, but he's able to argue his way out of it enough, then the other dude drops dead. Makes sense in context. The chief comes out, has his back, is able to downplay the situation enough to get Yuma out of there. And has a conversation, and he's like, Kanai Ward is my home. I know this place is kind of a shithole. Like, it's always raining, it's miserable, the peacekeepers run the place, and they are corrupt AF. But it's still my home, it's still my city, and I want to do what I can for the people here. I want to make Kanai Ward a better place. I want to make it feel like home again. It's been hard. It's been really hard. But I'm trying my best. I liked that. I liked that a lot. But then you get your mission from number 1, which is you gotta investigate. You gotta find Kanai Ward's ultimate secret. And then Yako goes from I want to do things, I want to help, to whoa! We can't actually do anything. That would be stupid. That would be suicidal. And to be fair, it's not like he's wrong because of how corrupt the peacekeepers are, but Yako is a character with ambition, but no spine. And so anytime Yuma is helping someone, his reaction isn't, hey, you're doing a good thing. You're a detective. You got to see this through. It's, no, why would you do that? Why would you even think to do that? The peacekeepers, Yuma. Think of the peacekeepers. And I'm like, I get it. But this is so at odds from your introduction, which felt so strong, that I don't know how I'm supposed to feel about you. It was a really good first impression, and then just slowly but surely, I'm like, I like you a lot less as the game's going on. And then we get our penultimate chapter, where he's the culprit. And, the whole time, Vivia puts it together and is like, Yuma, you don't really want to investigate this. I know you don't. I know you're saying you do, but you don't. And Yuma, you figured something out, and you're subconsciously not, you're not asking the questions you really need to ask because you know the answer and you're afraid of the answer. Loved that. Thought it was super interesting. And once it's revealed, and, Yuma's really sad, he's crying, and even Shinigami is being really nice about the whole thing. It is very much framed as, you should feel sorry for the chief. This, he's going after the guy that supposedly killed his wife. This is a revenge plot, but it's sympathetic, and this is someone we really care about. We all need to feel sad that he's gone. I'm like, well, hold on a second. I mean, Chapter 2 was also a revenge plot. But those killers, who, I'm going to be honest, I found way more sympathetic than Yako, the game didn't treat them with nearly as much sympathy as they are here. Shinigami in particular. Because with Yako, the whole time I keep thinking, you're the one who has been talking about how dangerous the peacekeepers are. And we've seen that every chapter of the game. So your plan was you were going to use our powers to sneak into the Peacekeeper HQ and set up a murder so you could get your revenge. Part of your plot involved dying. Meaning, You are going to escape the consequences of your actions in terms of the Peacekeeper and what they would do to the detective agency, leaving the rest of us behind to take the fall. Because you know they're going to blame this on us, because that's what they want to do. And now they have every reason and right to do so, because it's literally our fault, and you are leaving us behind to deal with your mess and the consequences of your action. Wow! You are a coward and you are a hypocrite. I don't like you. Fuck you, Yako! And that was how I felt playing Chapter 4. I have to be completely honest. So when I look at our main cast, I'm like, well, I don't like the leads. And I like most of the support. But then there's this one guy who I really wanted to like, and I thought I was gonna. And then, I really hated him by the end. So what about the other supporting players? Like, are just... Oh, I didn't... I'm looking at my notes. Like, I didn't write about Kurumi at all. Like, I liked her fine, but I don't really have much to say about her. But when I'm speaking of the characters and my problems with the game, there are so many underutilized people. Granted, basically everyone in Chapter 0, and that's just kind of the nature of the beast. And while I don't have to love that decision, I'm gonna respect that decision. That's classic Danganronpa. But then you get Chapter 1, where you've got these 4 suspects, and none of them get named. Or the character that you're helping out, because you're helping out this little boy because his dad's been framed for a crime, and here's the 4 people that maybe did it. The boy doesn't even get a name. He gets a name in the loading screen flavor text. Like, I have to treat this like a Dark Souls game to get the lore, because they didn't just write in the boy's name. Why? Like, it... How do I want to say this? Part of the reason I love Danganronpa so much, and the reason that killing game works so well, is you spend a good chunk of the prologue in the first chapter just getting to know everybody, starting to get attached, find out who your favorites are, who's the ones that you don't like, etc., etc. And as the game goes on and you get to know everybody more, each death hurts more and more. And here, when it's a new cast every chapter, I'm generally not as attached. When you don't even go so far as to give characters names in a chapter, I don't care. And maybe that's the point, at least in Chapter 1. It's like, you're not really supposed to get that invested. You're not really supposed to care. But the whole reason I'm doing this is to help this little boy who, you know, gave Yuma this impassioned plea. I should feel empathy for him. And I do. I'd feel more if you gave him a name. Like, come on. Why was that so hard to do? And then... like, in terms of the motive, there's, like, kind of a motive in Chapter 1. Okay, it's like, there's a motive, it's just, like, okay. But then you find out there's another killer who was doing copycat crimes. And I really like that twist and reveal. But also, I'm like, wait, so, what was his motive? Because you set it up as... you know, this guy's really into the Nail Man. I can't lie. I absolutely loved all the Nail Man mysteries. I play Umineko, man. I'm a sucker for a good locked room. But, you know, this guy loves the Nail Man, is always, like, learning about him and all that stuff. I was like, so... am I supposed to believe that he just did it because he's crazy and wanted to recreate the copycat killer? Because I can buy that. But you also specifically pointed out that this victim was someone who... like, had a lot of partners. They... oh, sorry, brain stopped for a second. But this is someone who had a lot of partners. So was this motivated out of jealousy? Is this someone who got cheated on? Is this someone who got spurned? Like, it feels like there could be a real, maybe not sympathetic, but an interesting motive to make this killer in this chapter stand out more. And it just... doesn't happen. And then you get chapter 3, where it's like, okay, here's a new cast of characters. These are the resistance. They're gonna fight against the Peacekeepers and Amaterasu Corp and all of that. And then after the chapter, they don't really meaningfully show up again. There's a side quest you can do with them, and that's like kind of neat. But if you don't do that, they just don't appear. And that, again, feels kind of wasted. And then... Sorry, I'm having... Oh yeah, and then chapter 4 introduces, like, okay, there's this hitman, and they help Yako commit the crime. He actually kills Yako. So, like, here's... This dude is I want to say apprentice. He's an accomplice. But he gets away? Which confused me a lot. Like, I thought the whole point of the mystery labyrinth is it kills the culprit. I mean, I guess this guy didn't kill the doctor, but he still committed a crime. And, like, shouldn't this be part of the mystery also, is unmasking the hitman? No, we're not focusing on that at all. Okay. But he was also an accomplice and, like, did some stuff that helped Yako out, so... Shouldn't he be guilty too? Because in chapter 2, only Yoshiko did the thing, like, only put the poison on the glass. And she's the only one who touched that. Waruna did touch the glasses, like, she helped set some stuff up, but she never touched the poison. And then Kurene didn't touch either of them. Like, she did the stuff with the lights. It was important. It was part of the process. Just like how the hitman was part of the process. Or how Yomi was part of the process. They don't die from the mystery labyrinth, though, but the 3 in chapter 2 did? I don't know. Like, it's something that as I was playing it, I'm like, wait, this doesn't make sense to me. This kind of feels like bullshit. I know, like, I'm talking about some of the holes in the mysteries, not sticking with the characters, but that was my next point, is some of the holes in the mysteries. There's also, this probably got explained. There's no way it didn't. But there's the part in chapter 4 where the doctor pretends there's someone in the lab, so we have a reason to, like, try to sneak into his lab to make sure he's okay, which is what leads to him dying. And I was like, wait, why did he do that? I think he was... if I'm understanding correct, I think he was faking that. So I think he was trying to get the Peacekeepers to come in so he could escape because he was working with Yomi, but also he didn't want to leave because he had pissed Yomi off and had no reason to... I'm staying in this room that I have... Okay, I can't lie, though. Sorry, my brain is going off in a lot of different places at once. The dude is staying in this room that is protected with, like, poison gas and this electric trap. So my brain, as I was watching it unfold, which is what I was just thinking of, I was like, this reminds me of the Peter Panda dance section from The Pacifier, which I was not expecting to think of while playing a Danganronpa adjacent game, but here we are. But this dude was having illicit dealings with the head of the police and got to a point where he realized, this dude's going to kill me. So I'm going to stay in here and make it so he can't come in. Good strat. But then fakes a message that someone is in the room to kill him. I guess so someone could come in and he could use that to escape. But never mind, because I'm remembering he had the like it was like hydrochloric acid, I think. Okay, sorry. I am remembering it now. I don't think this is a hole. He wanted someone to come in so he could kill them with the poison. He just wasn't able to do that because Yako got to him first. That's correct. If I'm remembering correctly, this is not a hole. There was just a bit that I had forgotten. I will give the game that. That's 100% my bet. I still think, though, the whole, like, there was a hitman and this was an accomplice and shit, and they go completely unmasked was weird and felt like an oversight, and the fact that this is an accomplice and Yomi is also an accomplice because he gives Yako the map, and they get off scot-free, and granted, like, Yomi gets arrested at the end and all that, but they survived the labyrinth, but that's explicitly not how that worked in chapter 2. I didn't really get that. That to me just kind of felt like BS, if I'm being honest. Okay, sorry, we're getting back to wasted characters. I talked about the ones in chapter 0, chapter 3, the Hitman, and then no one having a name in chapter 1. I didn't mention the Peacekeepers, because aside from Yomi, and again, I forget her name, but his beloved right hand, the one that kind of looks like Pecco, again, Danganronpa, they only appear in that one chapter that they're introduced in. There is a dude in chapter 0 named Swank. And Swank is this big guy with a grill with the word money written across his teeth and a big cigar, and he blows not smoke rings, but things in the smoke, like a yen symbol or like a skull. It's super expressive. And I loved this dude. I was like, this guy's awesome. I can't wait to interact with him for the rest of the game. And when he never showed up again, I was devastated. There's this one girl in chapter 3 who gives these like really weird, goofy fortune teller, fortune readings. And she kind of looks like Guar. And she's accompanied by this cyborg dude named Dominic. And they're kind of great. Never show up again. I'm like, why do you like introduce these like cool looking characters, like these fun, interesting antagonists, to never do anything with them again? It genuinely bothered me because I'm like, I'm stuck with Yuma and Shinigami, who I barely like as a duo or even as individuals. And there's so much personality in this game, and I'm just not getting it. I feel robbed. I feel the despair. I had to set up Monokuma behind me. I was gonna hold him to review, and I'm like, no, this just feels like weird. I tried to set him on my shoulder, that didn't work, so I just put him on top. But I've been critical about characters. I've been critical about like some of the mystery issues that I had. Chapter 2 was like none of those problems. Oh, no, sorry. Like I said, my brain's a little all over the place today. Some of the other mystery problems I had. I did talk about chapter 4 and like the Hitman and Yomi getting off scot-free. Chapter 1, I don't think I really had problems with the mystery. I thought it was pretty solid. Chapter 0 was wild. The whole, okay, I disconnected the train car. It went on a different track. We passed it, and then it just, like, got back on. What? Because here's the thing. As the chapter's unfolding, and we get into that last car, and, like, the name on it is burned and everything, I'm like, okay, that is important. We are not in the car that we think we're in. Somehow, we're at the front of the train again. Because that's the only reason someone would think to do this. I'm not exactly sure why, and I'm not sure how yet. But okay, I don't know, maybe when it blacked out, we somehow got turned around, which I don't think happened, like, okay. And then when the reveal happens, like, this is insane. What? Also, we're in chapter 1, and it's this crazy? I can't wait to see how this game escalates. And to be honest, I think for me that was kind of the craziest the game ever really got. And I was so disappointed. Because you introduce, like, okay, you've got detectives with superpowers. So I'm like, that's really neat. That must mean we're going to get culprits with superpowers. So this shit's going to be crazy. Like, you can't think of a case logically anymore. Like, there's logic, but you also have to account for the supernatural. This is going to get awesome. Never happens. There is no culprit with superpower. There's no, like, dealing with that, aside from maybe chapter 4 where your powers are taken into account. But that felt so disappointing. And then in chapter 3, Fubuki's power just doesn't come up during the investigation. It's more for the minigames and justify the shitty QuickTime events, because there's a lot of QuickTime events in these games, or this game, and I didn't really like them. I just thought they were kind of silly. Also, I thought Chapter 3's killer was, like, way too freaking obvious. And, like, there's a crucial bit of evidence that is hidden until you're pretty deep in the mystery labyrinth, and even then, the moment I saw, like, the flooded area, I'm like, oh, okay, I know exactly what happened here. I haven't said much about Chapter 2. It's because it's great. I kind of have no notes on it. It's like, I don't think the characters were wasted. I thought everyone was really interesting. I loved the way the murder played out when you learn, okay, this is what happened, this would happen, this would happen. It's super cool. It was really fun to investigate, like, the way Desuhiko's power worked. It was easily the most fun I had the entire game. Also, it had a play, and I'm a sucker for a good play. And as we're, like, doing the cups, like, the Duel of Poison Cups, like, this is such a cool and fun idea. Can I put this in Orichalcum? I want to... Is there a good place for it? I know exactly where this is going to go. And I know, like, this is what was going to happen. Now I can put this there, and it's going to make this way better and way more interesting for several reasons. Yo! Thanks, Raincoat! And that was super neat. Like, I absolutely loved it, and I think part of why I'm so torn on this game is, like, man, there's a lot of stuff I don't like. Also, here's this one chapter that is absolute solid gold, and it makes up for, to me, a lot of the deficiencies in some of the other chapters. It's not perfect. Shinigami is at her most obnoxious in Chapter 2, but aside from that, it's damn near flawless. And I haven't really said much about Chapter 5 either. It's also great! I really liked it! I will be honest, the moment Makoto was first introduced, I was like, okay, I've heard the word homunculus already, you're Yuma's homunculus. Nothing dissuaded me from that, and I was absolutely right. I did think, for most of the game, that Yuma was number one's, like, son or his grandson. I didn't think they were the same dude, but once they're like, oh no, Makoto is like the homunculus of the greatest mind ever, I'm like, well, that'd be number one, and he's Yuma's homunculus. I am 1000% convinced he's Yuma's homunculus, which then means, okay. The Soylent Meat Bun reveal, I wasn't expecting that, like, until we get to the factory, like, oh. Yikes, oh my gosh, this is getting crazy. Like, I had no... Maybe there would have been reason to believe, I just didn't think about it. But yeah, until the chapter started, I had no idea that the entire town were homunculi. I thought it was, like, one person, maybe a handful or something, like, oh... Okay, we're going places now. We're in a Danganronpa Chapter 6. Anything can feasibly happen. Ah, that pink blood reveal. I remember playing Chapter 1. And when Yuma finds that first body and he starts freaking out. And I remember thinking to myself, like, is he reacting to the blood? Is this a thing? And then I don't remember exactly how Shinigami, like, what she said, how she downplayed it. And Yuma's like, oh, okay, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay. Maybe he's not reacting to the blood. Like, maybe this is totally normal, and Yuma's just not used to seeing a corpse. Okay. And then it came back and it referenced that scene. I'm like, this always freaking happens when I play a Kodaka game. There is always that moment, and I'm like, to give an example. Major spoiler for Danganronpa 2, and a major spoiler for V3. So the one for Danganronpa 2 was... When Nanami was first introduced, like, she looks a lot like Chihiro to me. Is that a plot point? Is that going to be important? Like, here is the, like, super... I don't remember what Chihiro's talent was. Like, programmer, like, computer user. But, you know, someone who's really good with computers. And now she's a gamer. Like, is that just a cute reference to that? Is this important? Okay, seemingly not. And then by the end of the game, no, that's really important. And then kind of retconned later because of the 3 anime, where it's like, no, she was a real person. She wasn't just made by Chihiro and kind of looks like Chihiro because of that. Like, okay. But then, in V3, I remember when the demo came out. And, because of course I played the demo, and Hagakure is the victim, because he always is, and I think that's just funny. But they kept mentioning that you're the protagonist now, Kaede. This is your story. It happened like 3 or 4 times. And I was thinking to myself, boy, they're really laying it on thick. That's interesting. Is that just because she's the first female protagonist? I mean, there's, what's her name? Koharu, I think, like Makoto's sister in Ultra Despair Girls, but in like a main line numbered title, like she's the first female protagonist? Is that why is something gonna happen? Nah. And then, what do you know? I was like, oh, damn it, that's why you were laying on thick. That's what you were doing, you bastard. So when the fucking pink blood reveal happened, I'm like, dang it happened again. There was a thing, and my alarm bells went off, and then I was like, no, it's probably nothing. So I can't wait for 2x2 for something to happen and me to go, like, my alarm bells are going off. This is what's happening. Nothing will dissuade me from it, and then I'm going to be totally wrong. I am excited for that moment to happen. But fuck, that pink blood reveal was awesome. I was so hyped. I was so excited. Like, this is the kind of thing where if you'd never played Danganronpa, you would look at the pink blood and go, what the hell? Why are you bleeding like that? And then maybe you would think it's a style thing and be like, oh, okay, blah, blah, blah. But I'm like, oh my gosh, like you used your style as a plot point. That's so genius. Like, I absolutely love this. Like, 10 out of 10. No notes, and that's for the most part how I feel about the 5th chapter. I guess it's the 6th chapter, because chapter 0, and then there's a prologue, but it's how I feel about the finale. Like, this is really cool, this is really interesting. I like this battle of wits between Yuma and Makoto, because I like how they're foils for each other, and like I was saying earlier, while I found Yuma pretty uninteresting for most of the game, I do like the way it kind of loops back around. Whereas Makoto is someone who is hyper intelligent, he's also quite callous, and is like, no one else is as smart as me, I can't rely on anyone else, I have to do this. Yuma, because he's got his memories reset, isn't as capable, he has to rely on other people. Even as much as he, will try to be like, as a detective, you have to do what you gotta do, don't take emotion into it. His emotion is very important to him. Shout out to my boy Willard H. Wright. You can't ignore the heart. The heart is the most important part of the mystery. And seeing the way Yuma's character came full circle and allowed him to match wits with Makoto and then, beat him and overcome him, I did think that worked. I did find that satisfying. There was one thing, though. It's whenever they're like, okay, Makoto, you're an awful person. Not gonna argue with that. Boy, there are some things that he does. But when they're like, you don't trust the people of Kanai Ward. You're keeping them isolated and that's not okay. Bro, if they go into the sun, they turn into Resident Evil zombies and try to murder people. Yeah, I kind of understand why he keeps them isolated. They are not safe going anywhere else. And then you get to the epilogue and it's like, oh yeah, you just slap some sunscreen on and you can go. Like, I don't know how much I trust that, to be perfectly honest, man. I will say, as much as I did not care for Shinigami for a lot of the game, she did grow on me enough by the end. Like, I don't love this character, but she's fine. And, like, yeah, her goodbye with Yuma, I'm like, okay, I do think this works. I think I cared enough by the end for this to be effective. I hated the epilogue. I'll give you 2 reasons. Number 1 was, like I said, you just slap on some sunscreen and you being a Resident Evil zombie doesn't matter anymore. I don't know how much I buy that. But number 2, because as you're investigating the lab in the penultimate chapter, or I guess the final chapter, because the epilogue's not really its own thing, and you'll find the clothes and the meat puddles of your comrades. And then you'll find a note in their handwriting about what they discovered. And my brain looked at that and went, oh, each of them had come to Kanai Ward, like, individually. Maybe they did come as a group, I don't know. But they had come to Kanai Ward before, investigated, got this far, and then they got killed. But because they were here and in the factory, they got their DNA and were just like, you know what, since we're already here. And then made a homunculus out of them. So the people you've been interacting with the entire game are homunculi, and their originals have been dead for who knows how long. I don't know where they're at right now, but these are the original bodies. Which doesn't quite make sense with the pink blood, because that reveal hadn't happened yet. I was like, okay, maybe that's the blood of the ones they killed, and it's just their body. I don't know. Maybe this doesn't quite work. But the idea is like, no, like they're also homunculi, just like Yako was. Like, that's interesting. That's super neat. And then you get to the upper, like, oh no, yeah, they're all fine. Everyone's completely fine. These are the originals. They didn't die. Haha. Blah, blah, blah. Now they can just leave. Like, oh man. You had something really fun here. Maybe, I'll be honest, maybe it didn't quite work the way I thought it could have. But it was close. And this would have been so interesting. And just, nah, I'm not going to do it. Ah! But, yeah. I'm very torn on it. Where I think most of the main cast is kind of pretty fun. I have some problems with some of them, but I really don't like the leads. I think the mysteries on the whole are fun, but there's some that I do still sort of have these problems with, where I'm like, I like them, I don't always love them. And then there's chapter 2, which is like perfect. And then there's chapter 5, which is like perfect. And to me, they do a lot of heavy lifting. So overall, I think the best way I can describe my thoughts on Rain Code are thus. Am I glad I played it? Yes. Would I recommend it? I think if you're a fan of Kodaka's work and you're a fan of Danganronpa games and like that style, I think it's worth playing. If not, probably not. I will say it did, because like, man, I was having a bad Danganronpa itch. It scratched my Danganronpa itch. But boy, I can't wait for 2x2 to come out. Monokuma, you got anything to say? No, I don't think he has any. You know, he still hasn't told me the Ding Dang release date for 2x2. I don't know when this game is coming out, man. But, I mean, if you need that itch scratched, I guess you can play Raincoat. I think that's it. I'll see it.